you had a tweet that said, "I'm not convinced that declining fertility needs to be proactively fought."
I forgot that one.
You're going to have to, I dug deep. Why?
Well, I mean, think back, like, what was it, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, everybody was saying overpopulation of the earth is going to be a problem, Malthusian ending, we're going to have too many people, and now all of a sudden we're going to have too few people. So part of it is just the doomerism meme is always alive and well, right?
So it just gets repackaged.
Yeah, we're running out of oil. We have too much oil, right? You know, it's like the world is cooling, the world is warming. Like there's always something to scream about the world is ending. There's no progress in technology. AI is going to blow up the world, right? So people tend to overdo in both directions. Now, what is the actual fertility problem, right? Well, people are having less kids. Are they having less kids because there's a disease? Was there a virus? Did they lose their fertility? Is it microplastics in the testicles, right? No, it's people are having less kids because they're choosing to have less kids, right? Women have gotten emancipation, independence in the workforce, and they're making more money. People don't need kids as an insurance policy, so they have less kids. Maybe they're living hedonistic lives. God bless them, right? They want to have more fun. They want to have less kids. I don't see the act of choosing to have less kids as a problem. Okay, so let's move one level up. It's because of the retirees. It's because a large percentage of the population is essentially retiring at the guaranteed age of 65 or 70, thanks to Social Security. And so they need other people to pay for it. They need more workers in the workforce. And if the workforce is shrinking, then you have a small number of people exactly who are supporting a large number of retirees. And in democracies, you can't take pensions away. The voters vote you out. So they slowly strangle the economy. So what do? Then you have a bunch of immigration, and then the whole culture changes. You end up in a low trust society, and people start fighting over limited resources, and how do you control which immigrants come in, and how do you make sure that they're good taxpayers after they're in, and so on. So you end up with in kind of this trap where the low fertility rate is upstream of the downstream problems that are cultural and societal. But I'm not sure that you're going to solve that by making people have more kids. How are you going to meme them into having more kids? And I'm not even sure it's necessarily a problem, because keep in mind, you have more resources now. You have less of a burden. Now, there's a flip side where every kid is a lottery ticket and an invention. So there's some benefit to having more kids, but you can't force it. I think it'll work itself out, right? The Scott Adams has this great law, which is called the Adams law of slow-moving disasters. Okay. When disasters are very slow-moving, like peak oil or global warming or population collapse, and everyone can kind of see them coming, economics and society as a force solve them, because enough individual people has incentives to go solve them. So I don't know exactly how it gets solved, but I think it could get solved in various ways. One example could be, maybe people retire later. Maybe AI and automation and robots take care of the older people. Maybe we figure out how to have immigrants while still keeping a high trust society. We kind of put more rules around immigration that protect some of the high trust benefits. Maybe we outsource more things. Maybe we just, have more land and housing to go around. Believe me, if we were having too many kids, everyone would be complaining about how there's no housing and there's no land, right? So they'll always find something to care about. So I just don't view this as like a thing that any individual or government action is going to solve. I think economics and incentives over time will solve it. And I'm not even convinced it's like that big of a problem.
Is there anything that you do think is a
sufficient? It may be self-correcting too, which is that if there are too few kids in society, and the returns to having kids literally might just go up. It might just be easier to have
the incentive to now have a child because there's so few around. They're going to get the best job. They're going to have most opportunity.
The best resources. Like everyone's happy.
I suppose if you could come at it from a pain side, which is you look at all of the other people around who don't have kids. Let's say that pensions completely drop off, and the only way that old people are able to survive is if their children pay them some sort of stipend, like reverse, send money back up the generations. And you go, okay, well, that's a pretty fucking good incentive.
That's a good incentive. I also think that people have been memed into thinking that kids make your life worse, and that's a pretty bad.
What's your experience been?
Kids make your life better in every possible way. If you want an automatic built-in meaning to life, have kids. And I think there are these bad psych studies, like most psych studies, unfortunately, that say that people are unhappy when they have kids. Yeah, it's because you're catching them in the middle of changing a diaper and you're saying, like, are you glad you had kids or not? Or they don't even say that. They say, are you happy or not? And they say, no, I'm not happy right now. But what they don't realize is that person has found something more important than being happy in the moment. They found meaning, and the meaning comes from kids. And if you ask parents, do you regret having kids? I think it would be 99-1 against, it would be, no, I don't regret having kids. I love having kids. I'm so glad I had kids. It's incredibly rare to meet a parent that regretted having children.
It's pretty good odds.
It's extremely good odds. And I think I think a lot of people get late into life, and then they can't admit that they didn't want that they should have had kids. It's kind of late in the game. But a lot of times you see everybody who has a pet, right? And they're pushing them around in a stroller, right? What is that? That's a sublimated desire for children.
Yeah, Malcolm Collins says that having a pet is to children as using porn is to sex. He basically thinks that it's sort of a surrogate.
It's definitely in that direction.
Yeah.
And
I don't have.
I like pets. I like animals. But I don't like the idea of like neutering or spaying something and then keeping it as a prisoner in the house and having to train it. It's just, I don't want to be responsible for that.
Given that you've been thinking more about child rearing, kids, what do you hope that your kids learn from their childhood?
They should just be happy and do what they want. I don't have particular goals in mind for them. I think that's another route to unhappiness. That's different though, right?
Than learn versus goals. It's not necessarily what do they want. What do you want them to want out of life? Like, what is it that you had that idea around? Your number one job as a parent is to provide unconditional love to your kids.
That's it. Yeah, that's it.
Right. So I can be loved, or I am loved unconditionally. Is that one of the things?
I want my kids to feel unconditionally loved, and I want them to have high self-esteem. As a consequence of that. But I don't get to choose any. All I get to choose is my output. I can output love. I can't choose what they feel. I can't choose how they behave. I can't choose what they want. I can't choose what they turn out to be.
And downstream from that, there should be freedom. There should be a degree of freedom that comes from the self-esteem, that comes from the unconditionality.
Yeah, they should make their own mistakes and learn their own lessons and have their own desires and fulfill them as is appropriate. Like any parent, I wouldn't want them to be hurt. I wouldn't want them to be unhappy, but I cannot control these things.
A quick aside, you've probably heard me talk about Element before. In fact, you might be thinking, for sake, Chris, will you shut up about Element? And the answer is, no, I won't, because when I take it, I genuinely feel the difference. I genuinely believe that proper hydration makes a massive difference to your performance. So I'm going to keep talking about it until you start drinking it. Element is a tasty electrolyte drink mix with everything that you need and nothing that you don't. Each grab-and-go stick pack contains a science-backed electrolyte ratio of sodium, potassium, and magnesium with no sugar, no coloring, no artificial ingredients, or any other junk. It plays a critical role in reducing muscle cramps and fatigue while optimizing brain health, regulating appetite, and curbing cravings. This orange flavor in a cold glass of water is how I've started my morning every single day for over 3 years now. And I genuinely feel the difference versus when I don't. Best of all, they have a no questions asked refund policy with an unlimited duration, so you can buy it and try it for as long as you want. And if you don't like it for any reason, they'll just give you your money back. You don't even need to return the box. That's how confident they are that you'll love it. Plus, they offer free shipping within the US. And right now, you can get a free sample pack of all 8 flavors with your first box by going to the link in the description below or heading to drinklmnt.com/modernwisdom. That's drinklmnt.com/modernwisdom. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you enjoyed that clip with Naval, just a mere taster, the full-length episode is available right here. Go on. Watch it.